Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I'm Bill Knight. Happy Monday. Hope everything is going well and you had a good weekend.
Yeah, it was not bad. It was it was a little chilly around here. It started to feel like a touch of winter again, which, you get used to the 70, 75 degree temperatures, and all of a sudden, Mother Nature goes, hey, you like that? Well, back you go. And it's wintertime again.
I don't want to sit there and say I'm getting old or you're getting old, because that's not true. But have you ever noticed that sometimes you look and you go, oh, well, the temperature's not going to be bad today, but in your bones you're going like, oh, the hell, that's not right.
I used to laugh at old people. They go, oh, you can't go out today. It's like 70, What do you mean? Things are a little different when you get older. All I can say is that,
Yeah, your bones kind of tell you, no, it's not going to be 70 today. It's going to be in the 50s. And then you turn on the news. Well, there's a cold front coming the room going, the knees don't lie.
Oh, my gosh. Two old guys. Hey, anyway, lots of stuff to talk about. There was a great interview with Pam Bondi. She was on with Maria Bartiromo. Now, I know you said she was on another program, but...
Well, she was on MSNBC where they talked to Jasmine, which, obviously Bondi said some things about her.
Yeah, she said what she said on Maria's show. And essentially she was saying, well, people like Jasmine Crockett have got to realize they have a responsibility and they can't go out there and essentially call for violence to a public figure just because they don't like their politics. There will be consequences. And, of course, I guess Jasmine Crockett tried to say, oh, no, I didn't do anything wrong. They always do that, Bill.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, it wasn't me. I didn't call for that building to be burned. I didn't call for those Tesla cars to be firebombed, Right.
Well, yeah, she sat there and she was smiling, going and shaking her head, going, no. I was calling for people to go out and peacefully do things and this and that. And I'm going like, okay, we'll take that argument. Now let's go back to January 6th and Trump, where if you listen to the whole thing, go out and protest peacefully. I don't even think he said protest. He just said to go out, peacefully go. Now, he can say that, and it's an insurrection.
Yeah.
She can say that. Oh, no. We never said anything like that.
We talked about this for a second before the show started, but don't you think that our friends on the left are going to have a hard time in 2028, no matter what? Because I was thinking, how are they going to sell the idea that we can trust them again based upon what Biden did in 24, or 20 rather, with regard to the wall? With regard to the border. Biden literally crushed our own border and allowed all these people to come in, swamp our country, and to cause all of this mayhem and turmoil. Don't they realize that if the Republicans are smart, all they should say is, hey, vote for us again, or you're going to get that border charge again, that surge on the border for another 4 years. You're going to have another 25 million people in your country. I mean, I don't think they ever can be trusted again.
Well, I think back at a movie one time. It was about a guy and this girl that had an accident, and her memory was limited. So each morning they had to retrain her with a film that she got up to where she'd remember the day. And I say that because the American populace has the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah.
8 to 10 seconds, and that's it. And then everything that it encountered, it's forgotten, but just its basic primal instinct. So I'm saying that we, as like you and me and broadcasters and the Republicans, have got to do a morning boot camp each day, find a fresh new way to sit there and just remind the populace, don't let them forget, and you got to keep it compelling so they don't forget, to reboot them every morning so it never fades out of their memory. Democrats do this.
I would love to say that I disagree with you, but I don't. I think you're right. I think we have a drive-through mentality nowadays.
Yeah.
It's like everything has to be fast and everything is forgotten. It's like we don't remember the important things anymore.
So what happens if the Democrats retake things in 2028? Everything that gets fixed will be broke again, because that's what they want to do. Why do they want to do it? Now, that's a whole different reboot to look at it, because I look at different stories, but, I'm digressing and taking us off our path.
Let's hold the Bondi two-part for a second.
right.
I want to play for you. This is another interview. This is Mike Benz. He was on with Joe Rogan. This was actually a little while ago, but it's become viral recently because of what they talk about. Did you hear about what they were talking about? They
talked about U.S. aid and how the money was refunneled to do different things. I think
you just did what we've been told that it really isn't U.S. aid, although it looks like U.S. aid, but it was never supposed to be pronounced as a word because it really isn't U.S. aid. If you know what I'm saying, it's USAID.
It's to mislead us to think, that money is going to U.S. Aid and good things. But the good things, $1.2 billion, was going to groups that trained these, these civil societies on how to. What was it? They tried to train them to do a funded Twitter clone that would be used to push propaganda in Cuba. They taught these people how they could be. Or learn how to use Facebook and how to use Twitter. How
to fund the riots in this country.
Yeah, how to use hashtags and how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on, and what kind of slogans to use in order to create a pro-democracy predicate for it.
Have you ever wondered, folks, why there are organized attacks on these Tesla dealerships all at the same time over the same weekend around the country? Because, like Bill said, they're planned.
And that is the thing that Crockett was saying. She goes, she was on that Tesla group to tell people where to go and peacefully protest against Tesla. So in other words, she's the one that also helped out with all the names, addresses, and everything else. And, she's sitting there going peacefully, but she didn't do it. And you could tell by... I read faces and I, look at that and mannerisms, and I could tell she was sitting there shoveling the manure right and left in that one with a smiley face. I'm a pretty girl. I can do this.
Mike Benz, who is a guy who's really on top of this, was on with Joe Rogan, and they were talking about this, and it's worth listening to.
Yeah,
listen to this, folks. It's a little long, but it's worth it.
This was a scandal during the Obama USAID era. Now, we were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time. By the way, I have to say for the record, I'm no fan of the Cuban government. I'm not even weighing in on whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, in terms of regime change there or, liberating people there from autocratic excess by that government. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. So, for example, this is, and I'll show a couple other things in a second here. But this is Zunzaneo. So if you just scroll for a second, we'll start with this, right? So it was an online social media. Just scroll up 1 second. We'll start at the top here. It was an online social networking microblogging service created by USAID and marketed to Cuban users. This was a Twitter knockoff. See, the background of this is 2009, 2014, that period. The State Department and USAID were gangbusters gung-ho on the promise of Arab Spring-style social media revolutions to topple other governments. The Arab Spring was a Facebook revolution and a Twitter revolution. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on, what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy, predicate for it. But the problem was at the time Cuba did not allow U.S. social media in. So they said, so they're not allowing Twitter in. How can we get a Twitter there, but without calling it Twitter, without making it look like it's coming from the U.S.? So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter, same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzaneo is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it's It's bird. It was the Twitter bird. The whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. So what you'll see is it began running. So this is 2010. This is right during the Arab Spring. And what you'll see is they took funds, millions of dollars of funds that were concealed as humanitarian funds designated for Pakistan. Now, I don't know if Joe or the audience, if you looked at a map lately, but Pakistan is not exactly the next door neighbor of Cuba. Right. So, and this is the Wikipedia whitewashing, and we can get into the deeper layers of this, but contractors funded by USAID, I should note the main contractor was Creative Associates International, who's a frequent one. It's CAI, not CIA, I promise. So they concealed in the budget from Senate, from Congress, from the White House National Security Council. They said that these were humanitarian funds for Pakistan. And then they ran that to their contractor, CAI, to, quote, set up a Byzantine system of front companies using Cayman Islands bank accounts and recruiting unsuspecting business executives who would not be told of the company's ties to the U.S. government, according to the AP. The private companies like Creative Associates International designed the network. The idea arose after they were given 500,000 stolen Cuban cell phones that were available on the black market. And then what you'll see if you scroll down is, the network, dubbed the Cuban Twitter, reached about 60,000 Cuban subscribers. The initiative appears to also have had a surveillance dimension, allowing a, quote, vast database of Cuban Zunzanillo subscribers, including gender, age, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built, with the Associated Press noting such data could be used in the future for political purposes. By the way, these are all quotes from the internal documents, and we can go through that. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users in Cuba. The developers aimed to, at first, use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, and hurricane updates, by the way. They used hurricane updates in the internal things. Basically a humanitarian front that if you sign up to this app, you'll know about natural disasters in the area. Meanwhile, what was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this astroturfing. There's a great Guardian write-up on this. If you go to Guardian Zunzanillo, so you can see how crazy. Just type in Zunzanillo Smart Mob Guardian. You'll see the internal files explicitly said we're going to lure them in with music, sports, and hurricane updates. You have to join. Twitter in Cuba if you want, to be relevant in the culture and see what's trending in sports and music. If you want to be safe in your homes, if you want to know where hurricanes are going, Twitter, Cuban Twitter is the fastest place to get this. It's humanitarian work for, we're saving lives by doing this. But the whole point is once they hit a critical mass, they would create rental riots. And they would use this the same way they used it in Egypt and Tunisia to topple those governments under the Obama administration. They would organize smart mobs, rental riots. And if you scroll down, there's some, this is a fantastic article, highly recommend. There's a lot more there. But okay, stop right there. Oh, scroll up a little bit. Okay. Documents show the U.S. government planned to build a subscriber base through non-controversial news content, news messages on soccer, music, and hurricane updates. This is in The Guardian. Later, when the network reached a critical mass, perhaps hundreds of thousands, operators would introduce political content aimed at inspiring Cubans to organize, quote, smart mobs, mass gatherings called at a moment's notice that might trigger a Cuban spring, or as one USA document put it, quote, renegotiate the balance of power between state and society. And, so one more thing, if you want to look up on this, you see how they conceal it. If you just type in USAID, Zunzanillo, and discrete or discrete action, and you'll see how USAID, when this scandal popped off, everyone said, "What the hell? How did this happen?" This is classic CIA work. You're using Cayman Islands bank accounts. You're saying you're earmarking it for Pakistani aid. This has clear implications for U.S. statecraft if this gets busted. This is why we task the CIA to do this. Plausible deniability. If something has diplomatic blowback and we don't want U.S. fingerprints on it, we need a formal intelligence agency because there's diplomatic blowback if U.S. fingerprints are revealed.
Mike Ben's on the Rogan Show. And the thing about that is you have to remember that money was earmarked for Pakistan. It didn't get there.
No.
It was funneled as it was going to go to Pakistan. It went through the Cayman Islands, and before you know it, it was being used on this project in Cuba.
Well, let me ask you a question. Besides the projects, were there any other things that it could have gone to, whether they were nefarious things or personal gain?
Oh, absolutely. I think you should definitely take that from it. Everybody had their hand. We're talking, Bill, about $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
It didn't just go to make software for the internet.
So you've got all these people in politics that you're going, all right, on their salary and over their amount of time, the numbers don't match what they got in the bank account, what they live in, how many homes they have, and what they made. So where the hell did the money come from?
Hey, even if you take into consideration, for example, that Obama got, I guess he was placed on the board of directors on Netflix or something like that, and he has a deal that's, I think, $60 million to produce stuff that nobody watches. I mean, they had a documentary on Michelle that I think I have a whole movie that has had more viewers than this documentary.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it's out there. It's a shell company, and corporations,
Right.
you put these shell companies together, and it's there to hide money, and that's just
how much
what
does
they
the president get? How much money does a president get?
400,000 a year. It used to be 200.
Yeah.
But it was like 400,000 a year.
400,000 a year. He was.
Trump does not take that money, by the way. He donates it, but he does not take it.
Well, let's say $400,000 a year. He was in for 8 years, so that's $3.2 million he should have had.
Mm-hmm.
But total, if he had saved every dime, not spent a dime of it, he should have left the government with like $3.2 million. Yeah, and and yet he has a house worth $12 million on Martha's Vineyard. If you ever watch the old Magnum PI movie, TV show, that was shot in Hawaii on a beautiful estate. All the exteriors are a beautiful estate. He bought that beautiful estate, but it wasn't up to his liking, so he had the whole estate torn down, and he had a new mansion put on that location. But that location, it was so good, Hollywood had to use it for Magnum. The Robin's Nest, I think they called it out there on the TV show. Robin Masters, the fictitious
Master
author.
Robbins, yeah.
Yeah, he owned that location.
Or Robin Masters.
Robin Masters, yeah. So it was this. You have to ask yourself, where did Obama get all that money? This is a guy, by the way, who up until shortly before he was made a senator, U.S. senator, he was counting his dimes and making sure he had money for his rent. Yeah.
It's
All of a sudden, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, no, go ahead and finish it.
I was just going to say, and you got to look at his whole situation, folks. And I think a lot of that is coming to light. There's something that is not right about his relationship or the relationship that he presented to the American people for 8 years.
Well, he answers to somebody, that's for sure. And, some of the revelations that are coming out, let's say with the Kennedy files, and the question that's out there that's going viral was a conversation of somebody going, proof that there is a state within a state. In other words, and that's talking about the CIA and a deep state. And I sit there and I look at that. I even look at back in the Gulf Wars with Saddam Hussein. Remember him and Bush, who was a former CIA agent, where they do covert things, and he would purposely mispronounce Saddam's name to Saddam Hussein, and the reason for that is that it was stuff that they knew that's not normal for people, but that it was a slang interpretation of the name that meant street beggar.
Well, what was
even more derogative
What
things.
was George Herbert Walker Bush back in the early 60s?
Oh, he was in the CIA.
He was the head of the CIA.
Of the CIA, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say more perverted things, I mean it has something to do with a pig and something very vile. So, but they did that purposely, and the people that were in the know go, "That's funny what he's doing there." But if they do that, how low do we go?
Oh, we
And
do.
how deep do we go? Well, we go pretty low and deep.
Well, getting back to Michelle and Barack, we were presented an image. No,
of a beautiful couple.
Absolutely.
Beautiful kids. Yeah.
But now many people are saying, well, it's not what it was presented as. That relationship was artificial. Joan Rivers.
I was just going to say.
Just before she died, I think like 2 weeks before she died.
Amazing. And she died kind of abruptly, too,
Yeah, she was having surgery, a routine, I believe it was plastic surgery at an outpatient surgical center, not in a hospital. That should have been a clue right off the bat. But she was so trusting, so trusting with her doctors that there'd be no problem, that she okayed it. And we know what happened. And I like Joan Rivers. I thought she was funny, and I thought she was sincere. She gets out of a car, and she's walking into her apartment building, and a reporter corners her as she's about to go up the stairs. And here's the conversation. Listen carefully.
Miss Rivers, how are you? You made a ton of news officiating the wedding in New York yesterday. Is this like a new cottage career move for you?
I am so excited, and I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
And she walks into the building, and 2 weeks later, she's dead. And by the way, they said it was an unusual event that took her down, something that should never have happened, and yet it did.
But if you listen to her, she was okay with it. Now, she was a lefty Lucy, but either way, she was okay with it. But somebody else in that state within a state was not okay with it because it didn't fit their narrative for the time.
Right.
And they figured she was a loose cannon on the deck. Get rid of her.
Well, what did she say? She said that Obama was gay, and she said that his, quote, wife was a transgender. That's what she said, folks. That's not me saying that. That's what Joan Rivers said. Now, there's trouble in paradise, apparently. There's discussion of divorce. They are not, I don't think they're even, are they living with each other, Bill? Or are they?
I haven't read where they are.
separate?
They aren't. I think they're separated, but I don't have any proof in that. And quite honestly, I don't. I don't consider it my job to keep up with the Obamas.
Yeah.
I get the hits all the time, like, well, Michelle's got a new podcast, and now they say it's going great, but kind of like her books, they ain't moving. It's not moving. What is it? It's like the Spanish say, or the down in Mexico, they say she got no podcast, but nobody watch it.
They did a movie with Michelle. And seriously, the Army training film on frostbite had more viewers than the Netflix movie on Michelle.
Oh, that was a great thing, the Army film on frostbite.
Oh, it was terrific.
Well, it really was.
It kind of left me cold, but I mean, other people enjoyed it.
Oh, I was frozen to the tube.
I'm sure you were. Anyway, the thing that we're trying to point out here, friends, is that I think the exceptional situation that we're in right now is that Trump, he's not pretending to be anything he isn't, because we already know that he's a billionaire. We already know that he doesn't need all this nonsense. We already know that the deep state and the left can't stand him, yet he still does it. So a lot of people, at least 77 million, maybe 80 million people, they kind of got it figured out right now that the one who's being truthful and honest is Trump. The other guys, and I'm not just talking about Obama, but I think on both sides, going back, we've been lied to. do you remember seeing? And I never could figure this out, but throughout the years, you would have the Bush family fighting the Clintons in for the presidency, and it was always rock'em sock'em, and you figured, oh, this is. But then you'd see them like after they had retired from the presidency, and they'd be going to events, and they'd be sitting in the bleachers laughing and having a good time, and almost like it was a club, almost like, well, we put that one over on them, you know. If you fought somebody politically and said terrible things about them for years, I would think that the natural thing would be you have some kind of a resentment. You don't become a buddy with this former enemy, but that's what these guys do. You start to say, wait a second, I thought there was supposed to be a divide. They're Republican and Democrat, but yet when they retire, they all go to the same clubs, and they all drink the same brandies, and they all tell the same stories, and they all have the same routines, And I think it's because up until Trump, they've always been two sides to the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? I mean,
there was a play. They were acting out a play.
Yeah, it was. What's this? The Japanese kabuki. It's not what it appears to be. Kabuki dancing, and that's what they were doing for us. They were lying to us, and all along they figured they couldn't lose because whether Bush won or Clinton won, things would continue as they always have continued.
Yeah, it was a show for us. George Carlin, a comedian, and used to be a broadcaster and whatnot, but we're not talking about that. But he used to always make fun because he got very political, even though, and he's not a conservative. He was, a left-leaning guy. But he said it was all BS. I won't say it the way he said, but it was just a show to make us think that we had say and control in this, and all along it's the money that's pulling the strings.
Yep, absolutely. So I think Trump, the thing that's got the left, their panties in a knot, as they would say, is that Trump is just being Trump. He promised something, and he's delivering on it, and it's driving them nuts. It's driving them nuts. And this is where the danger comes, and I worry about his safety all the time because they're to a point of desperation, I think, Bill. I think that they're at a point where, their options are dwindling. They already tried to kill him once, maybe twice. Some people say 3 times. But, will they be a 4th time, do you think? Will they try to? I mean, they have got, people say, what have they got to lose? They've got billions of dollars of slush money that they've been screwing around with for years to lose. All those people that there are more people working in D.C. than I think any other city in the country. You have to ask yourself, why? What the hell do they do there? Do they make cars? Are they like Seattle? Do they make airplanes? No. They work in government.
Yeah. The government has, for a long time, they employed more people than all the corporations in America combined. And I'm sitting there going, they are the number one employer. And I'm sure that trend is, at one time it was 55%. That was back in the 90s. I remember that very well. And I'm going, that's impossible, but it was true. Yeah. And you got to take into account people that are even school teachers, whether they know it or not. They're kind of like, they work under an umbrella that the government incorporates. But aside from them, when you really start thinking about it and all the different areas where the government has its little tentacles, it's pretty far-reaching. And I would venture to say it's bigger now, and that's one way that it can have what they call democracy is a one-party rule, which has been going on for a long time.
An indication of how powerful, how big the market is. I guess I was reading a story recently where the place in the country that with the most homes for sale right now is Greater Washington, D.C., because people are, leaving their jobs, losing their jobs, and they're leaving the market, going elsewhere to get jobs. But again, what Elon Musk has said, I'm not getting rid of the different services that these agencies offer. Nothing in the agencies is changing. I'm just getting rid of the excess, the overage, the people who are doing duplicated jobs that are unnecessary. Do you know?
Right.
Well, go ahead.
I know, like Tony Blinken, and I won't give you all the wherefores and whys, but a lot of the people who worked in that administration and answered directly to him were federal employees and they had clearances, but they weren't federal employees. You see, they worked for private companies that had the contracts, and so their position supposedly eliminated, but then there's a reach around where they're still doing their work. They just move their location.
Why does Hillary Clinton need a security clearance? Why does Kamala need a security clearance? Why does Alvin Bragg, the district attorney of Manhattan, need a federal security clearance? Or Letitia James, the AG of New York? Why? I mean, they use it for access, they use it for privilege, and they use it for money, for profit. You say
that's
profit.
Right.
They actually, some of these people, they leave government and their selling tool to a private organization or business is the fact that they have a highest level government clearance. I can access anything. And now you have to ask yourself, why would they?
Why would they want to do that for a business? Why would the business want that? Well,
that's exactly what isn't that being a traitor?
Well, yeah, that's a traitor. And, that also means that the company is either trying to get political advantage, political gain in their competition. That is, what is it called when you're trying to, create a monopoly in a field?
Leverage?
Leverage, yeah, you've got that. Well, we got the government behind us, man. You're going to bid with that.
Yeah.
We got this and this and this. We're the big boys. We got the big pants on the block. There's a lot of, if you cleaned and swept out all the dirt in the government, all of the dirt, it would be a very small operation that's left.
They're trying to get the people to believe that because of Doge and because of Trump, we're going to lose Social Security. And the Democrats at every opportunity are saying that at every rally, in front of every camera they're trying to point out that, well, you're going to lose your Social Security.
Well,
when in reality, Elon Musk said, the only way you're really going to lose Social Security is if we don't go in with Doge and clean out all the excess and fat and waste, because if you don't clean that out, it will die. It will go out. So, and there's only one opportunity to do it, and that's now. Yeah,
I think what the numbers I saw, it's not going to go bankrupt, like they say, by 2035, but it will be down to 70% capacity. And that means your benefits are going to drop. But, you look at everything that's going on with Social Security. There's got to be some reckoning there with what's going on with Doge right now. They're trying to, they're going to have to shut it down. Well, it's the Democrats forcing them to sit there and go, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to shut down the mechanism that's there and put in a new mechanism.
You're going to have to ask yourself, too, why is it that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, not too long ago, were in public talking about how government had to be cleaned up, the waste had to be discovered and stopped and removed? They said all the things that are being done now, they were advocates of those things not too long ago. Yet all of a sudden, because it's being done by Trump and by Musk, now it's a bad thing?
Yeah, it is, because here's why. See, when Obama said it or Clinton said it, it was just it's a talking point, and it's one that we should do, and because it's on the public's mind. But then they can come back and make up excuses. Well, the Republicans blocked us all the way, and we didn't get it done. It was a false talking point.
Right.
They have no intention of ever doing it, but they're going to keep it out there. And in this little, dance that they're doing, this little game that they're playing, and I mean, it's
what you're saying is it was a lie before. So, I mean, there's no other.
Yes.
Before it was a lie. Now Trump's doing it, and that's got him.
Damn, he's doing it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's not part of that wasn't the play.
Yeah.
He's changed the lines.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we're going to tell you the truth, and that's why they're putting up everything, and that's why they're sitting out there. This little USAID thing that's going on to funnel everything. It was interesting that they were talking about how they're doing the memes, the tweets, and train people how to do this. Because I often wondered how my left friends, they've always got a meme that's not really, it's not a full tank of gas with what they're doing, but it's just enough to make you go, whoa, that's, and that's what they want to do. They want to get that out of everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, they're getting all of this material. They all have it on the same day, all at once. It's all over the place. That money has gone to little activist groups that are helping the Democrat Party. Why are they helping the Democrat Party? What evil are they up to? Well,
Pam Bondi was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday. We talked about this at the top of the show, but we got a little sidetracked. But it was a really good interview. It was long. It's in two parts here because we wanted to talk about a few things in the middle. So part one right now, Pam Bondi with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
Let me start with those flights to Venezuela. What can you tell us about Judge Boasberg's ruling and whether or not the Supreme Court is going to get involved here?
Oh, the Supreme Court will get involved. This is an out-of-control judge, a federal judge trying to control our entire foreign policy, and he cannot do it. He dragged us into court on a Saturday without any notice, and then he's continuing these hearings. He's trying to ask us about national security information, which he is absolutely not entitled to. We are appealing. We will be in court Monday again. We will win. We will prevail. There are 261 reasons why Americans are safer today, and that's because those people are now in an El Salvador prison. And we are going to follow the law, and we are going to protect Americans. There's a reason why Biden's approval rating was plummeting because of the border. There's a reason why the current Democrats' approval rating is at 29%. People want to be safe. This is President Trump's agenda to keep Americans safe, Maria. It's basic public safety. Get these people out of our country as fast as we can. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens who are committing the most violent crimes you can imagine on Americans. Murder, rapes. Ask the parents of all of these young women who have been violently strangled, raped, and murdered. And we are going to continue to make America safe again because that's President Trump's agenda.
Yeah, and we're going to talk with the NYPD commissioner in a few minutes, Jessica Tisch, and I'm going to ask her about the migrant arrests being down and whether or not it's a complete, impact from the president taking these people out of the city. Does this mean, though, that we've stopped shipping people out of the country as we await for resolution here from the Judge Boasberg ruling?
Well, we're continuing with the legal process, but we're also continuing to arrest people. We're not going to stop arresting these violent criminals. The Alien Enemies Act applies today really more than ever. Old law is often the best law if you think about how the laws that have been on the books for a very long time. We are in modern day warfare. They have invaded our country, TDA, Tren de Agua. They are organized. They have a command structure. They are sending money to each other throughout the country and out of the country back to support their terrorist actions. It's modern day warfare, and we are going to continue to fight that and protect American citizens every single step of the way.
The last time we spoke, AG, you said in the next year, in a couple of years, we will not have what's called a sanctuary city. Are you getting resistance from these cities who say, no, we are a sanctuary for illegals?
Well, sure we are, and we're going to continue to pull their funding. We are going to continue to sue them, and they're going to come around. They're going to have to, because the federal government is going to step in and do the jobs of these cities and states who are refusing to protect their own citizens. I truly cannot comprehend how these states, how these governors want to protect criminals over the rights of their own citizens. These are violent criminals. Crime was through the roof. And now with Donald Trump, it's going to plummet because we're going to get them off the streets if the state governments aren't. So yes, we're going to continue to fight that every step of the way. We will win.
What about these vandals on Tesla vehicles and dealerships? Give us the consequences there, and what are you learning once they're arrested? Why are they doing this?
Well, we're looking at so much on this. There have been 3 federal charges so far, and I say so far. We are looking at all of these cases across the country. We have a dedicated task force. These are not isolated incidents, as you know, and these aren't vandals. These are Molotov cocktails. That could be a weapon of mass destruction that they're throwing in Tesla dealerships, that they're lighting these Tesla charging stations on fire that are in residential neighborhoods. I mean, it could cause tremendous damages. And people need to know that 3 people in custody right now, they will receive severe and swift consequences, and they are facing up to 20 years in prison. We are not negotiating these. We are not coming off these charges. We are looking at everything, especially if this is a concerted effort. This is domestic terrorism. And Maria, now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country. And it's this basic safety. Once again, domestic terrorism is going to come to a stop in our country.
You go into a theater, right? Crowded theater, and if you yell fire, you can be arrested. So my question is, if they can arrest you for yelling fire in a theater, couldn't they arrest her for suggesting that Elon Musk should be taken out? I mean... Yeah,
I would think so. But, they look at it differently. And she's saying that she didn't say that,
But it's on tape. It's on film.
It's on tape. Yeah. But MSNBC doesn't play that. CBS doesn't play that. ABC doesn't play that. You name it, the list goes on and on. They don't play it.
Yeah.
So, but they do take an edited, or you want to call it redacted, whatever it is, a statement by Trump. And this has been proven in time after time. They take one portion so that they can change the narrative.
Of course.
And
I was
make
watching
it sound like
60 Minutes last night, Bill. 60 Minutes last night, they were talking about George Clooney. He's got a Broadway play coming out. Of course, it's political. It's about Edward R. Murrow, and it's about the McCarthy hearings. Of course, Joe McCarthy can't defend himself. He's long since gone. But it all comes down to politics. Even I'm talking about current day politics with these people. They have so much money, so much time. They'll make a Broadway play that will infer something on current situations. And in the interview with Clooney, they couldn't help but talk about their Democratic politics and how he's a big supporter of the Democratic Party, and it came around to the suit that Trump had filed against CBS, and CBS, in order to be honest, Trump is suing CBS for a baseless claim for $20 billion. Now, mind you, that baseless claim part of it was an editorial comment because the case is moving on, and if it was a baseless claim, I would think it would be dismissed already. But they're a piece of work. The left, they have no problem. They control the media, they control the narrative, and they use it at every opportunity to benefit their cause. But anyway, I wanted to point out. She was talking about the sanctuary cities, and I keep thinking to myself, wait a second. If a mob did something, wouldn't the first guy you go after be the head of the mob? Wouldn't the first person that you arrest be the head of the Gambino family or something like that? You would be something like that, right? Well, why don't they? You had Michelle Wu in Boston, for example, come out and double down on the fact that they're a sanctuary city and basically to hell with what the federal government is saying. Well, my question to the federal government is, why don't you just go in there with all due respect and say, do you believe this, Madam Mayor? Do you believe A, B, and C? Did you say A, B, and C? Do you believe this is how you should be? Your stance should be arrested. You're going downtown. We're taking you to jail. Do not stop and go.
How does she have that authority? But they're doing it. All these democratic cities are doing that.
Well, technically, Bill, there's no laws that give them the authority. A sanctuary city by nature is in violation of our laws.
Yeah. So why do we let them get away with it? That's probably a question for another show because that will take forever.
I will never ever understand how we've allowed this to happen unless it goes back to the two sides to the same coin that we were talking about in D.C. that we don't want to rock the boat and we'll allow them to. I mean, think about it, folks. The whole idea of a sanctuary city, it doesn't make sense. It's like an island of an independent nation. You look at California, right? You have Los Angeles, you have San Francisco, great cities. But yet San Francisco has been destroyed by this sanctuary city policy.
Yeah.
Los Angeles. I mean, you got whole areas of Los Angeles that have literally been designated as no-go zones by the police. Yeah. They don't want to go into the areas because. But go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, but they'll change the narrative on that. The propaganda piece or mouthpiece of the of that state within a state is the news sources and Hollywood. Look at Law and Order. They're portraying Luigi Mangione. An inspired character as a folk hero. So they're trying to rewrite the characterization of this guy.
Now, mind you, Mr. Mangione, he took a gun and shot an innocent man in the back. In the back, 7:15 in the morning, in front of a hotel in New York. Guy was out for a walk, and without any hesitation, you see it on video, he just picked up his gun. He was so casual about it before the guy came out, before the victim came out to do his walk. The killer was having a conversation with other people on the sidewalk, like the bellboy or whatever, and it was very casual.
So they're glorifying this guy. He's an avenger for the average guy. Well, is he an avenger for the average guy, or was he manipulated and he was doing a hit for a bigger force, maybe the insurance company, to kind of change the narrative and, point all eyes in a certain direction?
Well, you have to ask yourself, how much of that is out there? I mean, how much of
there's a lot.
Are there people who have been, let's say, trained, schooled, manipulated into doing stuff a certain way? Some people think that Lee Harvey Oswald, going back all those years ago, was a manipulation. I'll tell you what Trump did say. Did you hear about this? Trump came out, I guess, this weekend and said that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't do it by himself.
Right.
He said that, so, I mean, Anyway, I got part two with Pam Bondi interview with Maria Bartiromo. Listen.
Are you surprised by these judges? Not just Boasberg. We've got three others complaining about no men in women's sports and the Doge cuts. Broadly speaking, give us a sense of how you're looking at all of this resistance.
Oh, broadly speaking, we are fighting back every step of the way. We are in court every day fighting against these activist judges. We're not going to stop. Many of them should be recused from these cases. They will be recused from these cases. We're appealing them. Look at Chuckin. Look at Judge Chuckin with the EPA trying to control our money. Judge Chang trying to control the money of the U.S. aid. Judge Reyes, look what she did to Pete Hegseth. She made personal attacks in court about Pete Hegseth, and she's trying to control military readiness. You can't do this. And then, of course, Boasberg trying to control our foreign policy. These judges are out of control. We are going to fight back, and we are going to win. And the Supreme Court will be ready to hear these cases. You know, again, these are federal district judges who are trying to control our nation's agenda. And yes, President Trump won the popular vote by an overwhelming majority. Yeah. He won the Electoral College. And the people of America want change. And these judges they are losing, and they realize that, and we are going to win.
Hey, AJ, are we going to hear more about the January 6th commission? And what about the Epstein files? A lot of conversation about the Epstein files. And I recognize that when you're dealing with children, it takes much more time. You've got to ensure that what you're sending out publicly is not revealing any personal information. But can you give us a sense of those two items and whether or not we'll learn more about them?
Sure. You're going to hear, all I'll say on January 6th, you're going to hear a lot more about the January 6th Commission in a very good way. And as to Epstein, yes, you're absolutely right, Maria. You know, tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
You're also cracking down on anti-Semitism. We had days of protesting at Columbia University, the president threatening to pull $400 million in federal funding. What do you want to say to universities out there, including Columbia, in terms of their ability to put an end to this anti-Semitism? Yeah, and Linda McMahon is doing a great job with President Trump on this issue, protecting our students at these universities. Yes, it was $400 million that we were going to pull from Columbia. We're going to pull it from every university if you do not comply with the law, if you do not protect our students on campus. These kids go to college to be safe, to learn in a safe environment, and that's not happening. And it's absurd that these universities are not stepping in to protect them, yet they're protecting these protesters who are also, I believe, some domestic terrorists. They're here inciting riots, inciting violence against students on college campuses, and it's going to stop.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, Kash Patel did an interview last night. I haven't got it right now. I didn't have time to slice and dice it, but he was on with Trey Gowdy on his program on Fox. And, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, I like their enthusiasm, but they seem to be tampered a little bit as opposed to what they were. Their rhetoric is different now than it was before they got their jobs. When they were just out there being interviewed for being, Pam Bondi or Kash Patel, they were at the top of their games. They were talking about what they were going to do. I remember Kash Patel saying he was going to close down the FBI headquarters in D.C. and was going to do all these different things, and everybody was enthusiastic. The interview I heard yesterday was a more subdued Kash Patel. He did talk about how they were going after the bad guys, and their concentration would be on crime. And that's all well and good, and that's how it should be with the FBI. But they also should be going after government problems, And I didn't hear a lot of that in the interview. If I can find the interview and get it posted, I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, the one thing I would say to that is the one thing you sometimes have to do is once you're in a position to where you can do some stuff, maybe not have your rhetoric be so loud as to announce what you're doing when you're doing it and where you're doing it.
Good point.
Because the left will be all over it. So you've got to sit there. We put him there because of what he said. Now let's see if the actions play out. I mean, I know they're going after the Epstein files. You've got all these FBI agents, thousands of them in New York, piling through everything, redacting stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when you redact, I mean, you're going through and you're taking out sensitive information.
But I think their instructions
obscuring stuff too.
But I think their instructions, the good news, Bill. I think their instructions in New York were this: we have to redact their names and identifiers like Social Security number or phone numbers or addresses. So names, addresses, but other than that, leave it in. So if that's the case, we should be getting some interesting stuff. And I think that they're talking about victims' names, not the people who are,
Well, the interesting thing is this is a quick turnabout. Everyone's been going, you and I too, are going, well, what are they going to do? They said they're going to do it. What are they going to do? Come on, win. It's going on right now. And this was now the news is saying, well, it was a 24-hour flip of direction.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was, because I know that they were ordering all the Epstein files weeks ago.
It says here, according to the Wall Street Journal, FBI agents have been directed to redact only the names of victims and their personally identifiable information, such as phone numbers and social media handles during the review. Everything else, fair game.
Now, if you've got people that are of political importance, is their name going to be redacted to keep them in the clear?
From what I understand, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see, but they're doing it now. I mean, there are people that are going to work with a blankie and a pillow because they have to go through. No, that's true. There's photos of it. I got my pillow and a blanket because I got to be here doing this crap. I'm going to take a nap and then wake up. Yeah, I'm going to be here. Honey, don't hold dinner. Yeah. I ain't going to be home for dinner or breakfast.
Hey, Mike Waltz, advisor to the president, was on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. Always a fun show because she's definitely left-leaning and she doesn't like anything Trump. I'm amazed, by the way, that so many people from this administration will go on these leftist programs knowing that they're going to be unfairly treated, and they are. But Walt seemed to really handle himself. They were talking about Iran and what Iran has to do right now. It has to completely stop its nuclear program. Trump is not talking about, turning it down a bit or slow down on your development of the nuclear weapon. Trump is saying, in order for there not to be dire consequences, you have got to stop entirely, completely every aspect of your nuclear program. Here's Mike Waltz talking with Margaret Brennan. Listen.
The Iran-backed Houthis, they continue to fire at Israel. What is the last week of bombing achieved? And if you're holding Iran responsible, what's next?
Well, we've taken out key Houthi leadership, including their head missileer. We've hit their headquarters. We've hit communications nodes, weapons factories, and even some of their over-the-water drone production facilities. Just in the last couple of days, President Trump has decided to hit the Houthis and hit them hard, as opposed to in the last administration where literally weeks or months would go by with these kind of one-off pinprick attacks. And as a result, we've had one of the world's most critical sea lanes get shut down. I mean, these guys are like Al-Qaeda or ISIS with advanced cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and some of the most sophisticated air defenses, all provided by Iran. Just so everybody understands the impact here, the last time one of our destroyers went through the straits there, it was attacked 23 times. 75% of our U.S. flag shipping now has to go around the southern coast of Africa rather than going through the Suez Canal. And keeping the sea lanes open, keeping trade and commerce open is a fundamental aspect of our national security. The last administration was not effective. The Trump administration and President Trump have decided to do something much harder, much tougher, and what we'll see, but I think will be much more effective.
So the president said he's going to hold Iran responsible as well. Envoy Steve Witkoff said in an interview that Iran had responded to this U.S. outreach via multiple channels in regard to a letter sent by the president. Witkoff described it as an offer to Iran to create a verification program so nobody worries about weaponization of nuclear material. Can you clarify, is the U.S. seeking the dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program or verification like what President Obama put in place back in 2015 and President Trump pulled out of?
Full dismantlement. Okay. Iran has to give up its program in a way that the entire world can see. And this is, look, as President Trump has said, this is coming to a head. All options are on the table. And it is time for Iran to walk away completely from its desire to have a nuclear weapon. And they will not and cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapons program. That's enrichment.
To the
that is weaponization. And that it's strategic missile program. Can you only imagine? We've seen the death and destruction that they're doing through its proxies between Hezbollah, the Assad regime, the Houthis, and what have you. If they had nuclear weapons, the entire Middle East would explode in an arms race. That is completely unacceptable to our national security. I won't get into what the back and forth has been, but Iran is in the worst place it has been from its own national security since 1979, thanks to Hezbollah, Hamas, the Assad regime, and its own air defenses being taken out by the Israelis.
So there's still a chance for diplomacy. I know you don't want to get into
Of course. I mean, the president has all options on the table, but we want to be clear. This isn't some kind of tit for tat that we had under the Obama administration or Biden. This is the full program. Give it up or there'll be consequences.
Wow. Former representative from Florida and now current White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. There's no fudge factor here, no room for negotiation. It's on the table. You got to stop it. Your nuclear program has got to end. By the way, I don't know if you heard this or not, but I think over the weekend, the Houthis have declared war on the United States of America. I mean, which I find amazing. Don't these people know what they're up against? What?
It doesn't matter what they're up against. For them to do it, they can't just throw that out there and think there are no consequences. Now, that doesn't mean we just go and start hitting everything, but it does mean that we pay attention, and because they're planning something. Is it something overseas or an attack here?
The section of that interview that I found interesting was a reminder that they're nothing more than a proxy for Iran. Them and the Hezbollah and the Hamas in the Gaza, they're all being funded, and all the materials they're using are coming from Iran. So we're kind of already at war with Iran, and this is a much more delicate situation right now. Like you said, Bill, maybe the fact that they declared war on us is more than just an idle threat. Maybe there's something being planned.
Well, and the question I have is, a story that I saw. Now that kind of ties in. Because I wondered when I saw this, are there other cell cities? And I say that for a reason. In the United States, the story comes from a New Jersey police officer wears a Palestinian flag, not an American flag. And he's got it on with his uniform, Paterson, New Jersey, where he's wearing that. And but it turns out that that's Little Palestine. Yeah. And they say, welcome to Little Palestine, from Paterson to Jerusalem, 5,692 miles. Now,
the mayor, by the way, of Paterson, he promotes it. He brags about it. He was proud of the fact that it's Little Palestine.
Oh, they have a sign there, a welcoming sign, welcome to. and it's got a mausoleum there or whatever it is, and they have it's a pretty sign, looks great, but I'm sitting there going, my concern is we are the United States of America, so we're going to allow foreign flags to be worn on the uniform. That should be
well. We have been doing that. We look at
we shouldn't.
Under the left, they have pulled down our statues. They've gone around defacing Christian churches in the U.S., destroying statues on the front lawn of Christian churches. That's not a problem. But you go to a mosque and do that, and it's hate. It's something that's and by the way, it shouldn't happen on either side. No. That kind of thing should never happen in this country. We shouldn't have the Tesla problem we have right now.
No.
It's a private business, folks. For God's sakes, even if you don't like Elon Musk, there are hundreds of thousands of American workers who make their living making those cars. You're putting their jobs in jeopardy.
Yeah, look, I don't care about a person being proud of where they come from and their heritage. I think that's a great thing. But this is the United States of America. And if you're there to enforce the laws of America and live, the American dream, then you have to acknowledge that you are in America. You can't sit there and be a branch city of a foreign entity. That just is not, it might sound like American nationalism, but we have to keep the integrity of this country, intact. If we don't, we're going to have these crop up. Do we have little hooty nations that are coming up that have a township and then becomes a city?
Look what's happening in England right now. England right now is literally being taken over by invaders. They
opened it up to it.
They have not assimilated and become British. They have brought their culture to England, and they're not changing.
And you have to learn how to adapt to it, because instead of them learning for them learning how to adapt to our ways, and we are a multicultural nation. I mean, in the fact that we have a lot of different ethnicity.
Watch, they are going to stop. I guarantee this is going to happen if they continue going the way they're going. The Church of England is the Church of England. And it wouldn't surprise me if in the not too distant future that's eliminated. What I find interesting, Bill, is the left are the ones who are always calling us, the people who are conservative, they're calling us fascist. They use it at the drop of a hat. We're fascists. We're fascists. Yet the people who are doing the firebombing, the people who are tearing down the statues, the people who are hurting people are the people on the left. Listen to what Ronald Reagan said.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
They call us fascist, but they act like fascist. That's what he was saying. And that was Ronald Reagan back in the 80s, folks. That was Ronald Reagan. I think, actually, that was Ronald Reagan back in the late 60s when he was governor. I think he did it before he was president when he said that. But he was right on the money. The people who are causing all of the hate, fermenting the violence, encouraging the destruction of personal property like automobile dealerships. It's not happening because of people who are conservative, people who believe in our country, believe in the American way of life, the traditional American way of life. No. It's being promoted and being pushed by the people who are leftist. I'm sorry. And even if you happen to be somebody who is somebody, you may be on the left and don't believe in violence, but what we are saying is there are a lot on your side who do. And that's the problem.
Yeah, and with England, what's going on there, and what I see going on here, it's almost a cleansing of the infidels. To where it's a holy war that's kind of going on and seeding here in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, here's the beginning of another week. Okay, this is the beginning of another week. And one of the things you have to admit, folks, no matter what side you sit on, things change rapidly these days, don't they? I mean, we're talking about what is the lead story today. It won't be the lead story tomorrow. It'll be forgotten on Wednesday. Something else will happen on Thursday, and by Friday, there'll be another story we're following. I mean, it is an incredible time to be following the news. And I think that's intentional, by the way. I think that the people who are trying to control us, trying to keep us so busy, trying to keep up with everything that we can't focus on one thing. We can't say this is the problem and this has to be fixed. If you're constantly trying to stay with your head above water, keep doing the dog paddle, you're too busy keeping your head above water to learn how to swim.
Yeah, you got to pick a lane, but there's too many lanes to pick from.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we should point out, because we haven't done this already, that we have a gift shop. I know everybody has a gift shop. Well, we have a gift shop, too, because we could use your support and help. We have all sorts of things in our gift shop. We have hats, mugs, T-shirts. We have, what else do we have in there, Bill? That's
coffee cups. We've got, you got all that. You've got coffee in there. So
yeah,
you've got Right Side Coffee. You've got Make America Percolate Coffee.
We should point out it's not just
coffee.
It's not just Right Side Coffee. It's Jim and Bill's
Right Side Coffee. Yeah,
which makes
only place you can get it is at the shop, the Right Side Shop. So you need to go check it out.
If you would take a look at our gift shop, if you can. If you have the resources, we'd appreciate you buying something, because we don't have a Patreon button on our website, or we're not asking you to send us any support financially without anything in return. We figured this way we get a little something, and we're looking to promote the business, to promote the show. It's not like we're going to live on it, because trust me, folks, it's not going to be that much.
But we don't ask you to subscribe. We don't ask you to do anything. But if you do like us, check out the shop and buy something, if you will.
If you would. It would be deeply appreciated. And of course, we have the international singing stars from across the Rio Grande who paddled here on an inflatable. That must have been something. Where my mind went with that. They paddled here, and they're singing our jingle every day. They've found a niche, and they're sticking with it. Juan Jose and the Border Crossers.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Oh, they are such a talented group, aren't they, really? And there they go, right back to their tequila.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't run into any swordfish out there. I mean, otherwise their raft might have gotten poked. And
well, I don't think there's a lot of swordfish in the Rio Grande.
Well, you never know.
That's true. Anyway, I think that's about it, because we don't, you have other things you have to do, and we realize
you have
that.
a day, a life to live, and
yes.
And tomorrow it'll be another day.
It will.
It's another day with Jim and Bill.
Very clever how we did that. Mr. Knight, if you would.
Hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.